What am I going to do when I graduate?
What am I going to do when I graduate?
I want to help people.
I want to help people.
What kind of degree do I need?
What kind of degree do I need?
I want to make money.
I want to make money.
I want to enjoy what I do.
I want to enjoy what I do.
I want a great career.
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 Biochemist, agricultural economist, environmental engineer. A career in this cluster doesn't necessarily mean down on the farm. There's a lot to putting wholesome food on the table and keeping ecosystems clean, from lab research to managing resources like forests and soil. And it's not limited to the land. Aquaculturists, communications technicians, recycling technicians, and pollution prevention and control managers are among the many possible occupations. All of the careers in the agriculture, food, and natural resources cluster have at least one thing in common. They are all about growing, raising, and caring for living things. Many of the jobs in this cluster are concerned with the safety of the food supply, whether it's meat, fish, or prepared and packaged foods. Others deal with animals of every sort and size, whether for commercial purposes or for companionship and pleasure. Still, other jobs address keeping trees, bushes, and flowers in top form so they can be enjoyed by everyone. In many cases, having a green thumb or being naturally good with animals may be all that's required for success in this cluster. But for jobs where people are responsible for developing improved breeds of plants and animals, or for ensuring that the food supply is free of disease, a college education and an advanced degree may be required. Some people with jobs in agriculture, food, and natural resources may spend most of their time in the lab or in the library. But almost everyone gets out into the field. After all, these careers are about living creatures, and there's just so much work you can do inside. Certainly that's true of the 4 representative careers presented here: agriculture and food scientists, nursery and greenhouse managers, tree surgeons, and veterinarians. In this program, you'll hear from individuals who actually have these jobs, and they will tell you about their personal experiences working in these professions. Most of us take the safety of the food we eat and its availability for granted, yet many visitors to the United States marvel at the variety and abundance on display in our grocery stores. Making sure that the food supply is steady and safe is the work of agriculture and food scientists. They are involved in just about every aspect of America's diet, from the farm to the processing plant, to the packagers, to the table. Agriculture and food scientists work to make what's good even better. Agriculture scientists develop safer ways to control pests and weeds on the farm. They also work on developing the best conditions for raising farm animals, and they consider how to protect soil and water. They might work at a university agricultural research center, at a large dairy, or for the government. Food scientists evaluate and invent new ways to preserve, process, package, store, and deliver food. Their workplace might be a gleaming test kitchen or a manufacturing plant. To accomplish this vitally important work, these scientists draw on college degrees in chemistry, microbiology, plant science, genetic engineering, or entomology, which is the study of insects. A bachelor's degree is the minimum for some jobs in applied research, but a master's or doctoral degree is usually required for basic research. A PhD is generally required for college teaching and administrative research positions. Every state in the U.S. has what's called a land-grant college, where agricultural and food science coursework and research take place. If a career in agriculture or food science is appealing to you, it's a good idea to choose a specialty, and then find a college or university that provides the focused education you need. Food scientist Stanley Kahigis was originally going to be a chemist, but his curiosity changed that. You see, he always wanted to know why certain foods turned brown, and what made food in general taste different from time to time.
You're going to have a strong science background, good mathematics, and then have the natural curiosity to drive you to go find out why things work. Products are developed by individuals, not by large masses. They may be split up into projects, into large masses, but it's still individuals who compose the work.
Of course, not everyone in this field is a formulator, which is someone who develops the scientific recipes, so to speak. Some food scientists work in manufacturing, some in quality control, and some, like Stanley, not only create new food products, they also figure out how to duplicate products for private label or house brands.
Well, I have 5 patents in yogurt, dehydrated yogurts. I have products in every major supermarket for the area of private label, where, for example, if Lipton Soup came out with a product, I would then be asked to see if I could come up with a match. They spent millions, I spent thousands.
Duplicating a food product that tastes like a name brand version but sells for less isn't easy. It requires both chemistry and creativity.
You look at the ingredients, and the ingredients don't tell you the whole story, because it doesn't tell you how to make it. It just tells you what the possibilities are there. So what you do then is you use your chemistry side to do an analysis of the product to make sure that you check sugar content, acid, colors, whatever is in the product. You actually verify that it's there, that it's not just listed on a label, or it's not in the quantity that you expect. So the fun is trying to find out, why did somebody do what they did? The work part is putting it back together so that you can have the similar product.
To duplicate an existing product, you'll need a good sense of flavor, aroma, taste, and color. And you'll need experience and instinct.
There's a difference between a cook and a chef. A cook cooks everything he's told. A chef adds the extras, which makes it a wonderful meal.
And of course, as a credentialed food scientist, it's important to be diplomatic when you're outside the lab.
We're terrible if there's a whole bunch of food scientists together taking apart food. But when you're in a family situation, if the pasta's good, it's good. If it is bad, you just say, oh, next time I think she'll make it better.
Nursery and greenhouse managers are the people most directly responsible for producing the plants, flowers, and shrubbery that adorn our yards and parks. Some are employed at large industrial-scale operations that supply supermarkets and national retail outlets, but most are employed by local nurseries and garden centers. Nursing a plant along from a cutting or a seedling until it grows to a saleable size requires a great deal of care. Nursery and greenhouse managers are responsible for providing that care, both personally and through the work of the people they supervise. In addition, they supervise the unloading of plant stock and its placement in the selling yard, then make sure that this valuable inventory is properly cared for. Ordering the flowers, shrubs, bushes, and trees the nursery will sell the next season may also be part of the job, in addition to supervising the crews that go out to plant trees and provide landscaping services to customers. In southern regions, where the growing season never ends, the work tends to be steady. In northern regions, too, there are jobs to be filled, although during the winter, nursery and greenhouse managers spend much of their time repairing equipment, restocking shelves, and otherwise preparing the center for the big spring selling season. Turnover among nursery workers can be high, making it necessary for these managers to hire and train new people on a fairly regular basis. But that's a minor inconvenience to anyone with management skills who loves working with plants and with people. As the manager of a large greenhouse and garden center, Deborah Morris does everything from ordering plant material to plant watering. But much of her time is spent on management tasks.
Supervising others is one of the biggest parts of my job. For this operation to run smoothly, sometimes I feel like a band leader. I do nothing but direct sometimes during the day. On the weekends when it's really busy, I hold a radio in my hand and all I'm doing is telling people where to go and what to do. I have seen everything from somebody just needs a pat on the back because they had a rough day at home, to disciplining employees for not properly doing what they need to be doing.
As you can imagine, taking business courses can be important, but managing a garden center or nursery greenhouse also requires the specialized knowledge and training provided by degrees in ornamental horticulture or landscaping.
You're interested in plants, you haven't worked in the field, you really need to get yourself a college education because the plant material is so vast and so immense. Plant material is not just based on a common name, it's also a Latin name, and those names are what pretty much everything's being sold by. You need to get that knowledge, you need to be able to identify plants, you need to be able to identify insects and diseases, and that you're not going to find without either working in the field for a long period of time or getting some formal education.
Deborah notes with a smile that the salary is comfortable, but that you're not going to get rich in this job unless you own the business. But then, money isn't the point.
All my employees that are here, they're here for one reason. They have a love for the plants, they have a love for the outdoors. And if you don't love what you're doing, you shouldn't be doing it anyway, whether you make millions of dollars or you make nothing.
Spring is the busiest season, but even in winter, garden centers do a substantial holiday business, and customer service is always the key.
One of the most exciting parts about this job is on a busiest Saturday in spring when you've ended the day and you've had great numbers and everybody got helped and everybody was happy. That's the most rewarding part of it.
Tree surgeons and pruners learn their skills on the job. To succeed, they must possess a good eye for creating even lines and a balanced appearance. Tree surgeons and pruners usually work for a landscaping firm or garden service and use hand and power tools to trim and shape bushes, shrubs, and trees. Satisfying the customer and the boss is important. You have to work quickly, but also carefully, because once a hedge has been cut, you can't put the branches back on. To be a tree surgeon, you have to be strong. This work requires long hours on your feet, bending, twisting, and using heavy, noisy equipment. Allergies to certain plants could present a major obstacle to being a tree surgeon. This is a seasonal job in many parts of the country. It's not hard to find work as a tree surgeon or pruner, but the pay may be low. It's a job some people may take during the summer while pursuing other goals, like a high school or college degree. More permanent positions for tree surgeons are available at places with a lot of plants to care for, like golf courses, cemeteries, nurseries, and parks departments. Some tree surgeons and pruners with lots of experience and artistic vision can create decorative shapes from bushes or trees. As a teenager, Al Cherry always wondered how and why things grew. Now, after more than 40 years as a certified consulting tree surgeon and arborist, he knows.
We're just not tree cutters. That's the most important thing that you have to remember. And what you're doing is you're providing a service to the client to either save the tree, give them good recommendation as to how long this tree can live, should it be removed. You have to know where you're making your cuts and why. Obviously, there are certain limbs that are diseased, broken, stressed, and we have priorities as to when we prune a tree, and the priorities go in the area of first we take out dead wood, second it's stress limbs, intercepting, but also disease limbs. Even the spot where you make the cut, which we call the branch collar, is very important because the enclosure, sometimes if the cut is made wrong, enclosure never occurs, decay occurs. It looks okay when we leave the job, but don't forget, we're in something that we're not proved right or wrong for 5, 10, 15 years down the line. So if a cut is not made properly, unfortunately, 10 or 15 years down the line, then you see the problem.
His advice: get a college degree if you can, and if you can't, get certification as an arborist or tree worker through the International Society of Arboriculture and related organizations.
To me, it's the most gratifying thing in the world. I've been doing it for 44 years. There's nothing that makes me happier to make that tree healthy and 2, 3 years later come back and see it a real healthy tree.
The love for trees runs in Al's family. His grandson Jim also serves on the front lines with climbing spikes and chainsaw. Jim notes that given the power tools and the heights, a person can be injured doing this job. But if you think safety at every moment, you'll be all right.
There's a lot of skill involved, a lot of safety involved, and the one thing that I mainly think is if you don't know where something's going to go, then you shouldn't cut it, or you should put another rope on it. Anybody can pick up a saddle and a chainsaw and say they're a climber, but it takes real skill to actually do the work. I like finishing the job, and if I'm up in a tree and I've pruned it, I take pride in my work. Or if I, get a tree down, take a tree down, and not hit a house or a fence or something like that. It's the satisfaction of seeing the job afterwards, and the customer's happy, and you take pride in your work.
Veterinarians are doctors who diagnose and treat illnesses in animals and protect the public from animal diseases. Most vets are in private practice and treat small pets like dogs, cats, and birds. Other vets treat large animals, such as horses, cows, and pigs. Some veterinarians care for zoo, aquarium, or laboratory animals. Veterinarians also work for government agencies as veterinary inspectors. These specialists use their skills to protect humans against diseases carried by animals. Some inspectors work in meat processing plants and slaughterhouses to ensure that animal carcasses are disease-free and that the plants follow proper sanitary regulations. Many vets work out of animal hospitals and clinics and often travel to farms and stables to treat large animals or to inspect herds. Vets put in long hours and are often on call in the evenings and on weekends. They run the risk of being bitten, kicked, or scratched by a frightened animal. If you're thinking about becoming a vet, you must graduate from an accredited 4-year veterinary school. Admission is highly competitive. All vets must be licensed in order to practice. The earnings potential for this job is high. Although their patients can't say thank you, veterinarians know that their patients appreciate their care. Because there are only 28 veterinary schools with only 2,100 openings each year, just getting admitted is a major challenge. But after regular college, Michael Tokiwa rose to that challenge and is now entitled to put the initials DVM, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, after his name.
I did the general veterinary degree where after 4 years I got my Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, and I'm out in clinical practice.
If he had wanted to become a specialist, 4 to 7 years of work in internship and residency programs would have been required. As a vet in clinical practice, Dr. Tokiwa's days are quite varied.
This is the third practice I've worked at, so I can tell you that the typical day involves either seeing appointments first thing in the morning or doing surgery. And surgery will take you either till noon or slightly after, and then in the afternoon you have some free time to do what we call callbacks for blood work, pathology results, or any samples we've taken from masses, and then you spend in outpatient appointments the rest of the day.
Oh, that's a good boy. Good boy. All right, so Raj is here for his annual...
There are a number of misconceptions about this profession. The first is that vets only deal with animals. In reality, vets typically need excellent communication skills for dealing with pet owners or clients.
Stiffness in his, especially in his back legs.
Another misconception has to do with money.
A typical vet salary is about 1/3 of a human doctor's salary. We always joke as veterinarians versus human, not to put human medical doctors down. I think they're great, and I think that, it's a great field, but they only study one species. We study multiple species, and when you look at what we have to do, we're the anesthetist, we're the surgeon, we're the dentist, we're the regular general practitioner, so we have a huge role to play and do everything. And if you're going to just compare that from a money sense, you can't be money oriented if you're going into veterinary medicine, I can guarantee that.
The worst part of the job, Dr. Tokiwa says, is having to discuss putting a pet to sleep with its owner. But there are many high points as well.
What I like most is probably the satisfaction of getting a case right or doing a proper diagnosis and leading to a great outcome. I think that's probably the most satisfying thing, is changing someone's life through their pet, through making their pet's health better. I think that's the biggest satisfaction, happiest thing I like.
As you've seen, careers in the agriculture, food, and natural resources field tend to deal with living things. Certainly, there are jobs that will never require you to leave an air-conditioned office, but many jobs in this area have a strong hands-on component. Planting and trimming trees, interacting with customers, caring for animals, all of these jobs are for people who enjoy getting out in the field. The men and women who are attracted to the agriculture, food, and natural resources cluster don't mind getting their hands dirty because they know how essential these jobs are to our modern way of life.
I want a great career.
I want a great career.
I want a great career.
I want a great career.